You could be forgiven if you had thought over the past few weeks that the protests going on in Iran would eventually end. Certainly the Iranian regime was hoping for that, doing quite a bit to try to bring about that result. And yet they persist. The protests are now weeks in, and we wanted to talk about it. And we decided to bring on a friend of the show and the network to do that. We're now joined by the host of Back to School with Maz Jobrani, Maz Jobrani himself. Maz, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me, John. What's going on?
Insanity here in the US, internationally. Some of it, at least, though, is inspiring. So we've been following what's been going on in Iran, which I know you have been 10 times so. Tell me a little bit about how you initially reacted when there was the tragic killing and then the protests, and they didn't just last a day, they continued. What did you make of that?
Well, John, as an Iranian American, I would tell you that we as a community inside and outside of Iran have been watching this go on for 43 years, where this oppressive regime has just been more and more oppressive every day. It got to the point, I think, where there's been ebbs and flows. There's been times when Iranians around the world had hope, like in 2009 when the Green Movement happened. For those that don't remember, that was when Ahmadinejad was the president and he won the election in what was clearly a stolen election. There was cheating and people poured out in the streets and they protested, and everyone thought that was it. That was gonna be the toppling of the Islamic Republic, and yet they brutally held on, because the fact is they've got weapons and the people don't. The fact is that they are brutal and the people can only protest and try to bring them down somehow to listen to them, but they don't. So when the initial killing of Mahsa Amini happened about a month ago, I started to hear people talking about it on social media. And I have a lot of fans that are from Iran, and they were asking me, could you post about this? And I said, of course. And it just kept moving. It went so fast that first they arrested her and they beat her and put her in a coma. And by the time I even had, the first post I made was to say the authorities had beaten this 22-year-old woman who's only because her hair was out a little bit from her hijab. And by the time I even posted that, she'd already died. So people were hitting me going, she died. And I go, oh my gosh. So the protests, as we've seen, have started, continued, grown. As you said, they're inspiring. It really is inspiring to see the women of Iran march and chant "Women, Life, Freedom." That's the chant that they're using. It really is a woman's movement. It really is a democratic movement, a movement for democracy. And that's why I tell my American friends that they should care, because Iran is a cautionary tale of what America could become if we're not too careful. Because a lot of people in America go, well, the women in Iran, they have to wear compulsory hijab. That's them, they're over there in the Middle East. Well, that's an attack on women. That's an attack on women's rights. Just this year in America, they took away women's right to choose when it comes to abortion. And we see that they've already said that they're gonna go after LGBTQ, maybe look at the gay marriage again. They're gonna go after others. And it's similar to what the Islamic Republic did. As soon as the Islamic Republic was established, they started oppressing their own people, from women to LGBTQ to religious minorities, on and on and on. And that's why I've been telling my American friends and people outside of Iran that they should care about what's going on.
Yeah, I certainly hope that they do. It's one of the reasons we keep returning to it, is to make sure that it's at least on their mind. One of my fears, though, is that Iran is not a political system, a culture that a lot of Americans know much, if anything, about. And what they have learned has been, stereotypical villains in movies or stuff from right-wing media. It's like fear mongering. So is there anything like misconceptions about the protest movement, about Iran, about the culture that people should get right so that they can accurately understand what's happening there?
Absolutely. I'm not sure if you've been watching this documentary on HBO called Hostages. It's all about the 1979 revolution and how Iranians took Americans hostage. And I think that was around the time I came to America. I came to America at the age of 6 in late '78. And at that point, I think Americans saw Iranians as terrorists, as hostage takers. And my whole life growing up, when he would mention Iran, it was hostage takers or rich oil or just villains, as you said. I want Americans to see the Iranian people as heroic. The things that women are doing right now are going into the streets as the authorities are shooting at them, and they're taking their hijab off in protest saying, I want my freedom. The thing young people are doing, the young people in Sharif University, which is one of the top universities in the world, it's kind of like the MIT of Iran. It is the MIT of Iran. They protested and the authorities went in there and they just started shooting people. They just the other day, they set fire to a political prison in Iran and we heard gunshots and we don't know yet exactly what happened. Again, Iran's government is the enemy of Iran's people. And so the Iran's government has been saying that the fire in this political prison that's called Evin was set by protesters and prisoners. But a lot of people are arguing that the regime might have set that fire itself and executed prisoners. And why would they execute prisoners? Here's the thing you need to know. In Iran, when you look at the top prison in Iran, those aren't just people who are murderers or others who have committed crimes of that sort. Those are intellectuals and political prisoners. So those are critics of the regime, whether they're students or intellectuals or journalists. So Iran, the Iranian people, and people in America need to know this, the Iranian people are a very modern people. They're a young population. They've been on social media. They're active on social media. They know what's going on in the world and they want their freedoms. And I hope again that the American people start to see the Iranian people as the heroes that they are. Because the footage I'm seeing coming out of there, it just blows my mind. I can't imagine being shot at and walking at the authorities or fighting those authorities with nothing to fight them with.
100%, yeah. And there have been a few instances where, like I know a lot of people have died, a lot of people have been killed. There's been particular instances where they've shown, like the last moments of some of these activists, like young women, like talking about the future that they want to fight for, and then them turning up dead. And it's just been absolutely devastating to see. As you say, it's like bravery. That is more than we can imagine what they're going up against. At this point, I know it's impossible to say what's going to happen. Maybe we can only talk about what you hope comes out of this, but going forward, like where do you think we're at in one more month? It's been 1 month since Mahsa was killed. Where are we at in a month, do you think?
I think people are fed up. Again, they want their freedoms. That's the number one thing they want is their freedoms. The economy is suffering. They're seeing the brutality of this regime. It really is a brutal regime. So I don't see how it slows down. I think it keeps going. I personally have been trying to participate as much as I can. I'm a comedian. And my Instagram page and my social media went from comedy to activism. I mean, I'm giving speeches. I was like, I should be writing silly jokes. I'm giving speeches, and people are definitely tuned in. Somebody said something that really hit home with me. They said being Iranian is a full-time job, and it really is. I wake up every day to several texts and messages, what's going on. People, I mean, my inbox is flooded right now with videos, inspirational videos, songs that people are writing to keep the, to promote, to inspire the protesters. There's a song that actually became the anthem of the whole thing that's called For Freedom. And they arrested that guy. His name is Shervin Hajipur. They arrested him. Protests continue. The first round of protests that happened outside of Iran in support of the protesters was a few weeks ago, and by estimates, there were several million protesters around the world. I participated in the one in Los Angeles where there was 25,000 people. There's another protest coming up this next weekend, Saturday, the 22nd, I believe. And I would encourage and implore anybody watching this to go online, do hashtag Mahsa Amini, MAHSA AMINI, and start following people that are posting about this and see what you can do. Really, at this point, the main thing you can do is just to keep getting the word out. Call your congressman or senator, congressman or woman or senator, let them know about it. I know we all have our own problems. We have the elections coming up. There's a lot of stuff going on, but really it's a humanitarian thing, emergency that everyone needs to be aware of. And if they want to help, those are the types of things we can do to maybe there's a solution. Maybe there's a way that governments can start putting more and more pressure on the oppressive regime and the agents of the regime that are living outside of Iran. And maybe we can squeeze them, and maybe we can get to a point where they realize that they're killing their own people. I mean, that's to me, John, that's the only hope. It's a gruesome hope, but the only hope for me in my mind is when what's called the Basiji force, which is the internal police that gets hired, they get paid to go out and be thugs and beat and kill their own people. When they start realizing they're killing their own sisters, their mothers, their brothers, their cousins, and they put the guns down and they stop. That's the only place I see us going.
Yeah, hopefully. And I know the access to internet obviously is very difficult there, but I would hope that when there is access, these people, like if they can see that people have their backs around the globe, that's got to help considering all that they're up against that we've been talking about. So hopefully people will stay engaged on that. Acknowledging that your social media is now activism rather than just the jokes, where can people follow you to see more of your work?
Everyone can follow me. I'm at Maz Jobrani across the board on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of it. It's at Maz Jobrani. And like I said, I'm posting a lot about what's going on. I'm continuing my tours because I'm using those as an opportunity to also bring voice to my live audience. Because again, I have a lot of audience members that aren't Iranian. So I continue to talk about it in my shows. And I'll be honest, as a comedian, it's not the easiest job right now to be funny during a time like this, but we do our best. And again, my tours, I also consider them an opportunity to spread the word, but also an opportunity to just do a little bit of therapy for myself and for the audience when we engage in about an hour and a half of just relief from the heavy news. So everything's at Maz Jobrani, and really I just hope people pay attention and spread the word as much as they can.
Awesome. Well, Maz, we really appreciate you taking time out to join us. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Have a great day.